Welcome back. It's another Victory Tuesday on this show. How about 11 of them this year? 11. 1-1 to 3 losses for the Bills. Bills are 11-3 after a I want it was a shootout win for the Bills, but it really
Again,
just, it was a Bills game that was fully controlled from the start to finish. And I'm gonna put it this way, it was just two garbage time touchdowns that make this game closer than what really indicated. Both teams combined for 90 points. Both teams combined for well over 1,000 yards combined in the game on Sunday. And here we are heading into Sunday, which is a 1 o'clock game that was flexed into the 4:25 slate of games, which is weird to me, but okay. Fine with It's weird to me, but I'm also somewhat okay with it. I'm not making a huge deal of it. The Bills are playing, so put them on at whatever time, and we'll be there to watch them. So 11-3 statement win after a lackluster. I wouldn't say lackluster. I would say a very fluky loss to the Rams the week prior. How are we feeling, Connor?
well, first and foremost, thank you, Josh Allen, for another 41.2 point fantasy performance to absolutely send my first round opponent packing. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your 51 point performance the week before to let the entire league know that I am not about to be denied a championship. As long as he is my quarterback, I am not losing a game. Knock on wood, because I may have just jinxed myself. But anyway, it feels great. Like, if you had told me that the Bills would have 11 wins by this point, I'd have thought you were crazy.
Yeah,
At the beginning of the season, I had the Bills at a projected 10-7 record. They've now passed what I had initially predicted last week with a statement win over the best team in the NFC at the time. Injuries are kind of hurting them right now, so there is a case to be made that they're no longer the best team in the NFC, but at the time they were the best team in the NFC, and we won a shootout. Granted, we were down, both starting safeties, DeMar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, and we did suffer a few more injuries during the game. But as far as it looks, most of the injuries suffered in the game, I'd have to go back and double check, were not severe enough to where we're going to have to sit any new players for the game against the Patriots this weekend.
mhm,
But I'm not entirely sure on that. I don't want to say it and be wrong. So you can quote
yeah,
me on that one. You can quote me on that one later, Paul. But I'm feeling great now that we have gotten the worst of the schedule out of the way, and now we have 3 divisional games to not overlook. We still
yeah.
are
Don't
in play
overlook.
for the 1 seed, so you can't treat any of these games like gimme games. Week 18, potentially, but the circumstances have to be absolutely on the money. Like, you either need to have the 1 seed locked up by a miracle, well, I wouldn't say a miracle, but the Chiefs' downfall, basically. Like, they'd have to
Mhm,
collapse somehow, and or, which I think might be a little more realistic, is you lock up the 2 seed by week 18. You can't go anywhere no matter what happens with the second game against the Patriots. At that point, you would probably consider resting some guys like Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, just to make sure that they're all healthy going into the playoffs. But uh, let's actually jump into our quick takes. And we do have a lot of Bills stuff to talk about. So let's actually make
yeah,
these quick takes pretty quick, Paul.
mhm.
We are going to go to the first one. This is the one that we would have asked Ben, but we had to place him on short term IR again. His heart couldn't take the game against the Lions. So I will ask you the first question.
Alright.
There is a very important weekend in college football coming up.
Mhm.
Obviously, the first game of the playoffs of the new 12-team playoff that Florida State still managed to not make, but this time not because they got screwed, but just because they suck. So, which of the 8 teams this weekend are on upset alert?
I have 2 that are on upset alert. I think those 2 teams are the kind of the 2 obvious ones. I mean, I'm gonna start with the first one. I think it's less obvious than the other one. One is Texas. I think Texas could potentially be on upset alert this weekend
Oh my
against
god.
Clemson. Clemson, even though they don't really deserve to be in the playoff, they just get in based off the auto bid, which I endure, which I think should continue in a 12-team playoff is the auto bid. But if you go back to the old format and you use this 12-team playoff as in the old format, Clemson probably doesn't make the college football playoff, and it's Alabama or something like that. So I
Blech.
think I think Clemson here is a sneaky team. I don't think they're as good as Texas. I think Texas at one point might just overpower Clemson during this game. But if we get to a point where
Oh.
it's, mid third quarter, this is a one score game, this is a 7 point game, a 10-point game. I think Texas could be in trouble because, Klubnik and Dabo Sweeney can, they stick around. It could be a very interesting matchup throughout the remainder of that game. But the real upset, I think, the team that's really on upset alert this weekend, and probably the team that's under the most pressure this weekend is Ohio State.
Oh boy.
They're playing in their scarlets. They're wearing all red. It's under the lights. It's going to be cold, and they're at home. You should win this football game. You absolutely should win this football game. You're at home. You have the weather to you have home field advantage. You have the weather to your advantage, and you're wearing your all reds. I mean, all that at night at the horseshoe. You should win this football game. I mean, Tennessee will compete with you, but you stop Tennessee's run game, you should be able to win this football game. You make Tennessee one-dimensional, you win this football game, like, by a lot. You don't, Ohio State is gonna get third down boos all the time, and home field advantage is gonna turn red against Ryan Day. Ryan Day, at the end of Saturday night, he might wake up the next morning with the eviction notice on his desk when he walks into Ohio State.
Oh boy. So you really think Ohio State and Texas are the 2 upsets?
Mhm. Sneaky
Oh
one,
man.
sneaky one. Penn State, but I
Penn
don't
State.
think I don't think Penn State loses this game.
All right. Well, I don't think they do either. We'll roll with that. If
Yeah.
Texas gives up this game to Clemson, I will absolutely just bury my head in my hands because I cannot stand to see Clemson succeeding in anything.
Yeah.
They do not deserve to be in this playoff, but they are. This is the equivalent of the 7-9 Washington football team division winner
Mhm.
or the 8-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers division winner a few years ago. This is a game that Texas should absolutely destroy Clemson, and they better. I will be very, very upset if Texas manages to choke against Clemson because then that means Clemson moves on, and then I just cry. So
Yeah.
let's not have that happen. But as a matter of fact, I definitely agree about the Ohio State bit about them potentially being upset. But college football is just weird. Like
Oh, it's weird.
anything could happen in any of these games. As a matter of fact,
Oh, absolutely.
if I remember right, Georgia has the bye, correct?
They
Georgia
do.
and then somebody else. I forget who that somebody else is or that other
Okay,
team.
so
Who's the
Oregon, Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, Arizona State all have first round buys. So the 4 games that are happening this weekend, basically, you just win and you go face one of those teams. There is no reseeding. So if Texas or Clemson would win, they would get Arizona State. The winner of Penn State and SMU will play against Boise State. Winner of Tennessee Ohio State gets Oregon. The winner of Indiana Notre Dame will play Georgia.
Ah, yes, that'll be interesting. I'm just waiting to see how Georgia manages to screw it up this time, if they even
Their
manage to pull it
quarterback is
off or
still
not.
in question for the quarterfinal.
Oh God, so yeah, they ought to not be in the playoffs at all if historical precedent says anything. But I will not get on that shtick again.
One
I
quarterback that is hurt currently is Patrick Mahomes, and
oh yes, he's
the
fine.
Chiefs are in a fight for the 1 seed, but their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, has a high ankle sprain. He
He
was full
practiced in full.
today,
He's
and
fine.
he's practiced in full, but a high ankle sprain is 4 to 6 week injury, and this guy is practicing in full. The dark magic in KC continues. So really, this question turns invalid, but we could still talk about it because load management is important in the NFL. Should the Chiefs sit Mahomes for the final three
No,
games of the regular
no,
season?
absolutely not. And I don't say that in the way that makes it sound like, no, I want Mahomes to play and his ankle to get screwed up. No, I don't mean it that way. What I mean is you have to take a look at their schedule. Their final three games are against the Texans, against the Steelers, and if I remember right, their last game is against the Broncos. I can't
Hmm.
remember if it's the Broncos or if it's the Chargers, but I no, it's not the Chargers. It is
Broncos.
the Broncos.
It's
That's
the
a
Broncos.
tough gauntlet, and
It
you've
is.
still got a 1 seed that you're trying to maintain. If
Absolutely.
Mahomes is healthy, you can't risk sitting him. Like, he practiced in full, he's gonna play, and the question is, how is he gonna hold up against Houston's pass rush? You know, Hunter and Will Anderson are really, really good at the job of rushing the passer. So, hopefully Mahomes will come out of the game okay. But if they wind up losing that game, that'll be step one to the Bills securing the first round bye. But they would have to also realistically drop the next game to the Steelers. I just
Hmm.
don't see them losing two games in a row, especially that Steelers Chiefs game is going to be weird. Like, there's going to be some weird magic in the air when that happens. Like, I don't even know how to describe that game, but that's for next week. But it will take them losing both of those games without if Mahomes were to not play for whatever reason and the Chiefs were to lose both of those games, then yes, if we won both of our games, then yeah, there you go. Bills are the 1 seed. But it's just going to take a little more it's going to take some luck, and I don't want to rely on luck for the 1 seed. Just play
Hmm.
the games that just play the games Buffalo has on the docket. Whatever happens happens. If you get the 1 seed, you get the 1 seed. It's realistically out of reach right now. The Chiefs need to lose 2 out of their last 3 to even have a shot at it. So, if Mahomes were to not play for whatever reason, which I don't think that'll happen, he will play, uh, then you got a good chance. But at the moment, no, they are not gonna sit Mahomes when they've got a 1 seed to lock up. You know that they would want that bye so Mahomes can rest his ankle. So,
Oh yeah.
that's just how I see it. I think it is something to watch, but he did practice in full, so he'll wind up playing that game for sure. And hopefully, he makes it out okay. You'd hate to have him play a game like that and then something worse happen. I really hope that doesn't happen. Mahomes is just a freak to watch. Like, I
Hmm.
love watching him, despite the fact that their offense is just bad. They haven't put up more than 30 points all year. They've put up 30, but no more than 30.
Hmm.
They've done it, I think, twice. They're one of like four teams in the NFL this season to not have a game of over 30 points. And the other three teams are all bad. I'm pretty sure it's the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Giants are the other three teams. And then you have the Chiefs, which if you flip every single one of their one score games, they'd be 3-10 right now. But um, that's just another hypothetical that is not worth getting into. So, uh, to end that take, yes, they're not going to sit Patrick Mahomes for the final 3 games of the season, not with a 1 seed right in their grasp, not when they can get an extra week of rest for Mahomes and potentially play a team like the Ravens or the Broncos. Just who knows? It to me, it's just too early to really think about potential playoff matchups. But man, now that we're out of this take, we can actually move on to the Bills stuff because what a game we witnessed on Sunday. That was crazy. We won a shootout against that high-powered Detroit Lions offense. If that doesn't tell you just how good this offense for the Bills is, I don't really know what to tell you. Like, that was just an incredible display from Josh Allen, from Khalil Shakir, and from Keon Coleman, by the way. He saw the most snaps of any Bills player on offense in the skill position group, that is. He had the one catch for, I believe it was what, 64 yards?
Mhm. Yes.
He made the catch when it counted. Can you think of another time where someone might not catch a deep ball when it matters most? I don't know about you, but I can. But that was just an incredible game. I think what's really going under the radar on this game is the fact that the leading rusher for the Detroit Lions was Jameer Gibbs. Now, this man usually runs over everybody that he plays. I mean, he is an immensely talented player. Against the Bills, Jameer Gibbs, 8 carries, 31 yards. Think about
Oh
that for a minute.
god.
The questions that we had about Buffalo's run defense just got a lot
Man.
more vague. We're having to ask even more questions now after they held one of the best running backs in the NFL to 31 yards.
I mean,
But
that's
I know
insane.
I know a few Bills fans that'll be like, "Oh, but he still scored a touchdown. It doesn't matter." No. 31 yards out of the whole game. That's
Jeez.
absolutely just what a job by the Bills defense. The run defense, that is. The defense that, was the one point of contingency where we were just like, this is how we might lose in the playoffs. But no, run defense peaked at the right time. Pass defense, on the other hand, we can't really say the same thing. They still put up 42 points.
I mean,
Amon-Ra St. Brown
you're
had
without your
himself.
two starting safeties and
Mhm.
Rasul Douglas. So I mean,
Yep.
the
I
pass
know.
defense was all of us was going to be the quote unquote weakness, but Cole Bishop and Cam Lewis allowed nothing over the top. The only thing
True.
that you could say was that Jameson Williams deep ball down the field, but there was a flag on it, a flag on that play, and he dropped the football, so it doesn't count as the safeties getting beat over the top.
Mhm.
So Cam Lewis, Cole Bishop, the first time really playing with each other, didn't get beat over the top. They kept everything low underneath, and it just made the Lions work the hard way up the field, and at in most times they just couldn't do that until the last few possessions where the Bills just eased off just a little bit. They eased off on offense, they eased off on defense. They really didn't need to push hard on offense, and they didn't need to have to play so aggressive on defense because they had such a large lead. Yes, it was a 21-point game at one point. It was shrinking down to 6 at the end of it, and it ended on crazy, a crazy onside kick, but this game wasn't close from the start of the game. It wasn't close really to the end of the game, even though it was a shootout. Both combined for over 90 points in this game. The both teams just racked up yards everywhere.
Hmm.
But I think we're missing the point here is that, Josh Allen, he's a beast. He is the
Him.
MVP.
He is him.
He has to be the MVP of this of the NFL.
Oh,
He
hey, we
has
were
to
just
be the
talking about this.
MVP of Buffalo. He's just on a tear the last 3 games. I mean, 14 total touchdowns, 1,027 total yards, and 0 turnovers the last 3 games. And then you talk about his predecessor, Lamar Jackson. Tell me a
Predecessor.
3 games 3-game stretch where Lamar Jackson looked this good. You can't.
Interesting choice of words, but you literally can't. Now, Ravens fans will try, but you can't. Let's just put this into perspective really quickly. So, Josh Allen in the game against Detroit, 23 for 34,
Mhm,
362 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a
mhm,
95.2 QBR, and a 122.4 passer rating. Josh Allen also tallied 11 carries for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns, longest being a 21-yard rush. That's just unbelievably incredible. I've been watching football a long time, Paul, and I have never seen a quarterback be able to do everything Josh Allen can do and
mhm.
still be successful. I mean, not even Michael Vick was that good at both elements of a quarterback play, being able to pass the ball and run the ball. He was never that electric. Not even rookie RG3 was that electric, and that man was fun to watch. Really fun. Josh Allen is just playing on another level right now. I've said it a million times. This is literally a more athletic version of Ben Roethlisberger in his prime. The only difference is obviously, other than the off the field antics that Josh does not get into, which we all love for that, his accuracy isn't as good as Ben's, but it doesn't matter because he's better in every other way.
Yeah.
He's way more athletic. He's honestly a lot tougher. And Prime Ben was almost impossible to sack. Prime Ben was almost impossible to wrap up and bring down, even when he did take off with the ball. Rare, he'd get in Arians' face afterwards, asking why he was forced to do that, telling him to scheme better. But no, Josh just does it on his own. Like, the man is an otherworldly talent right now. And there are very, very few circumstances where where you would have an argument where Josh Allen does not deserve MVP. Very few, and none of them involve Lamar Jackson. None.
Mhm.
I do not care what they say, because you have to think about it, Paul. The Ravens right now, they are 9-5, a game outside of their own division standings, right?
Yep.
So why should a quarterback of a team that did not win their division, hypothetically, win league MVP? What did you really do to deserve league MVP when you couldn't even will your own team to the division title?
Mhm.
That's saying if he does not win it. Now, something I didn't tell you earlier, or anybody earlier, because I was at the beach, I really didn't want to get involved in this discussion as much as I did in the first place, but y'all just wouldn't stop talking about it. Here's the other thing, too, right? If you look at the MVP winners in the past even 5 years, they all have something in common. They are all members of the number one seed in either or conference. Last year, remember how everybody was mad, myself included, that Lamar Jackson won MVP and Josh Allen
Mhm.
didn't. Ravens were the one seed that year.
Yep.
The year before that, Patrick Mahomes was league MVP. Chiefs were the number one seed that year. It's a trend. It's a short trend, but this is something that literally only I would ever notice because I look at stats that in depth. The way I can absolutely tell you Josh Allen locks up MVP is if the Bills somehow manage to get the 1 seed and Mahomes and the Chiefs just collapse. There's no way that Lamar Jackson could genuinely win MVP. Because if I'm being honest, like I told you, I wouldn't even take Lamar Jackson if I had a choice on who to submit as an MVP for the Baltimore Ravens. It would actually be Derrick Henry. You
Mhm.
could take Lamar off the Ravens, have Tyler Huntley start in his place even. I don't even know who their backup is anymore. You could probably put, let me just think of a random backup right now in the list. You know what? You could put Nathan Peterman in as quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens right now with Derrick Henry in the backfield, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. This Ravens team does not lose many games, many additional games with Nathan Peterman at quarterback. You take out Derrick Henry, and you've taken out a very good portion of their offense. They
Mhm.
would fall apart pretty quick.
They
And
would.
that goes to the only point that I can see other voters making, and that is the hypothetical scenario. And this is the one I was talking about to you guys earlier, where Saquon Barkley breaks the all-time league rushing record for a single season if he breaks 2,000 yards. Now, there, I would absolutely say Saquon Barkley's gonna potentially have a shot to win MVP if he does that. He's on pace for 2,050. And if the Eagles get the 1 seed from the Lions, I would absolutely say he's got more of a shot than people think.
He'll have a shot, but, like,
But
if you look
this
at
is this is exactly what I was telling you too. This is a year where you literally cannot say definitively that a running back, even if he breaks the record and and puts up the best season for a running back in NFL history, you still just can't be like, okay, it's his, because Josh Allen has just been otherworldly this whole season. Aside from that one game that no one cares about anymore, that one, I believe, the Ravens game. It was either the Ravens game or the Texans game where he went like 9 for 30. But one game, every quarterback has a bad game. You literally can't argue for anyone other than Josh Allen right now. Now, later in the season, you may see people try to argue elsewhere. Like I said, the Saquon Barkley argument if he reaches 2,000 yards, but that's the best shot. Josh Allen has been playing at an MVP level all year. Well, pretty much all year. Full
Mhm.
stop. And there's just no argument you can legitimately make for Lamar Jackson right now. And if he loses the division to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which by Saturday could happen if the Steelers win, well, if the Steelers win on Saturday, they lock up the AFC North. That's it. There's no way I would even consider Lamar Jackson to be MVP. No way. You can't even win your own division. You shouldn't be MVP. You're going to be on the road in the playoffs, bud. So that's where my point is. Josh Allen should be unanimous as MVP
Mhm.
if Lamar Jackson cannot win the AFC North and Saquon Barkley cannot break 2,000 yards rushing. If both of those things happen, there is nobody you could put on the vote as a vote that isn't Josh Allen. Period. I don't care. And yeah, I know we're all Bills fans here. It's probably going to sound biased to a lot of people, but you just
It's
have to
not biased
watch the
because
games.
it's how he's playing. I mean, you
Exactly.
look I just noted, that his stats over the last 3 games. No turnovers in the last 3 games. He's breaking records that, have long standed in Bills history. He's breaking Jim Kelly's records. He's also 2 touchdowns away from breaking Thurman Thomas's rushing rushing, record, rushing touchdown records. I mean, just think about that. A quarterback breaking a running back's rushing touchdowns record that's been standing there since the '90s. You would think Fred Jackson or CJ Spiller or LaShawn McCoy would had a chance of breaking that record, but no, it's Josh Allen who is 2 touchdowns away from doing that. He could pass the football no problem. He's and then he can just run you over in the red zone,
He just runs you over,
escaping.
period.
He just runs you straight over. And Josh Allen is just playing on another level where even if Lamar Jackson wins his division or Saquon Barkley, rushes for 2,050 yards and they get the 1 seed in the NFC, there's just no
Impossible now
player
with the
right now
Lions' injuries.
currently on this planet that's playing better than Josh Allen. Not over the last 4 weeks. I mean, Josh Allen the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl last year, currently the top of the AFC. That's their only loss. The San Francisco 49ers, who went to the Super Bowl last year. And yes, they're having a down year, but still, they
Down
went
year
to the
because their
Super Bowl
entire
and the
team's on
Super Bowl
IR.
runners up. And then he beats the Detroit Lions, who's the top seed in the NFC, and handed them their first loss since week 2.
Oh, hey,
Any
remember
other
who they lost
quarterbacks?
to? Remember who they lost to, Paul?
Who?
No, I'm saying, do you remember who they lost to? I do.
Lions?
The Bucks. The Lions lost to the
Yes.
Bucks.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yes, they did.
That's a team that's going to win a playoff game, I promise.
Uh-huh.
They go bring the state of Florida some good rep because none of the other teams in this state will.
Uh, just Josh Allen is currently the best quarterback currently playing right now. I mean, we brought in our group chat earlier, we were talking about, quarterbacks, and I brought up if Joe Burrow had a defense, Joe Burrow was in conversation for MVP with Josh Allen, and I think those two would be the front runners heading into this week, and it's definitely would be a closer battle than what it is between Allen and Jackson. I mean, Allen and Jackson is clearly Josh Allen going to win this MVP. Josh Allen had really only one bad game this season, and Lamar Jackson has a few bad games sprinkled in to an amazing season that he's currently having, but it's not good enough as Josh Allen. But we also talked about the defense a little bit earlier at the top of the show. Is the Bills' defense peaking at the right time?
The run defense is. You just stopped two of the best in the business in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Granted, David Montgomery is, I don't believe many people would consider him upper echelon in running back. They consider him good, but not great. But Jahmyr Gibbs, oh no, they consider him an incredible talent. And to hold him to what they did, just let me repeat the stat again. Let me repeat the stat again.
Mhm.
Eight
Repeat it.
carries, eight
Mhm.
carries, 31 yards. He averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Ty Johnson had a better average yards per carry than
He did.
Jahmyr Gibbs did.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me that the run defense is problematic right now? No, save it.
Mm-mm.
Save it. Run defense is peaking at the right time. And now you have basically, in terms of rushing competition, this week, got Patriots. Ramondre Stevenson is no slouch. You got to prepare for him. The week after that, you got Brees Hall, if he even plays at all. That rhyme was unintentional, by the way. And then obviously you got Ramondre Stevenson again. So the run defense has time to gel even further now that you have even less of a threat than Jahmyr Gibbs to worry about for the rest of the regular season. Now you get into the playoffs, depending on who your first opponent is, maybe who knows who you'll see. Like you could see anybody from, let's see, uh, current seventh seed right now is the Chargers. So Gus Edwards, if he comes back, I mean, he's really good. Don't get me wrong. I do like Gus Edwards. Uh, plenty of other teams. Like if Denver falls, you could see another good one. If the Ravens even somehow manage to fall all the way to 7, which I doubt, you'll see Derrick Henry again. Now there's the toughest competition. I'd say the second toughest would be if Miami somehow miracled their way to the 7th seed and we had to face them round 1. Devon Achane is certainly no slouch. Or if the Colts somehow make it and Jonathan Taylor doesn't drop the ball in the end zone again. But the run defense is peaking at the right time. The rest of the defense needs to get healthy.
Mhm.
Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin were missed out there. I'll tell you that right now.
They were.
They were missed, and Sewell was missed. If Sewell was in the game, I am pretty much guaranteeing that they are not going to pass that many. They're not going to get that many yards in the air. Something that I feel like nobody's really talked about after that game. Jared Goff threw the ball 59 times.
Yeah, we made them one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's because we had a 14-point lead in the first quarter.
Mhm.
We literally took the game and ran away with it in the first quarter. That immediately limited the play calling potential that Ben Johnson could, reach into his pocket to use. I mean, we just absolutely bulldozed them out of the gate and caused them to have to go one dimensional in a hurry, which is obviously why you see that Goff threw for 59 passes. He threw 59 passes for 494 yards, 5 touchdowns, was sacked 3 times, had a QBR of 76.5 and a 118.9 passer rating. That rating's just really because he had 5 touchdowns and almost
Right.
500 yards. Pretty sure in fantasy points he put up like 41 points, which if you were a Jared Goff streamer, congratulations, you probably won your first game of the playoffs if you were even playing. But man, just not enough good things to say about the Bills' run defense getting hot when it matters, and not enough good things to say about the state of the offense as a whole. Like, my God, the game that's one of those games that defines a season. And I've seen many, many regular season games that will define a season. I saw it in 2017 when the New England Patriots beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on a bad call, yes, but they still won. That was the game that was just like, okay, yeah, this team's going to the Super Bowl because they found a way to win a tough game against a tough opponent. 2018, I saw the Baltimore Ravens do it to the Cleveland Browns. You knew they wanted it. They were in danger of losing the game. Baker Mayfield just stepped back in the pocket, threw that ball directly to CJ Mosley. And that's just when you knew you were like, yeah, this team's for real. Like this Ravens team deserves to win the AFC North. And they did. That's how this win really felt, for me at least, with the Bills. Like, that's the game that you look at and you just go, yeah, okay, this team is, it's going to take a collapse for this team to not make the Super Bowl. So, man, just too many good things to say and not enough time to say everything, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
the pass defense the last 2 weeks has been a little concerning. I mean, the week of the Rams game, when we were practically healthy in all fronts, yeah, we got torched by Matthew Stafford, which was unexpected, but, just Matthew Stafford was doing Matthew Stafford stuff. This week, it's just is slightly different. You had no Sewell, you had no Rap or Bishop, but really after, just sitting here thinking about it, it's like even though yes, we gave up 40 points, 500 through the air, I feel somewhat good about this defense after this game because it's just the way we went about our business on Sunday. Both Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau both had 9 quarterback pressures on Sunday. Ed Oliver had a game high 3 QB hits on Sunday. The front four looked really good, and it's finally has came together. We've been asking for what's going on with the Bills front four for the last few games, and here they are. They finally come out, they grab a few sacks, they get tons of quarterback pressures, and they hit Jared Goff. On top of that, your run defense only allowed Jahmyr Gibbs 31 yards, but only allowed that entire run offense to 3.2 yards a carry. On top of the 3.3 they allowed the prior week, making a two-game average about 3.2 yards per game the last 2 weeks on run offense against this defense. If you look at what the Bills have upcoming, it's the Patriots. They can clearly make them one dimensional. Their run offense isn't, great, but it's good enough to where it could possibly pose a threat to the Bills defense. But the last 2 weeks, this Bills run defense has finally molded together. They made the right decision with having Jordan Phillips up this week instead of Quentin Jefferson, and then the addition of Smoot. He's back. You get those two big guys in the middle of the field. It's just making this run defense look really good the last 2 weeks, and I hope it continues. And it really just goes into the next question about, load management with this team. There's 3 games left. You're in a fight for the 1 seed, but injuries are starting to pile up just a little bit. Has been an issue the last few seasons. Entering the playoffs, the Bills are just not healthy enough as they get into the playoffs as they would like it. So, what are some things you might want to see over the next 3 weeks to kind of lessen the load of Bill's key players as they enter the final 3 weeks of the season?
There's a lot, really, but at the moment, you really cannot afford to rest key players. But at the same time, you definitely need to be careful about players that are on the injury report right now. You don't want to rush anybody back, especially in these 3 weeks. You need to be as healthy as possible for the playoffs. If that means some of the people on the injury report don't play, then they don't play. It's that simple. Like the way that I see it, you got to be safe at this point. The only reason it feels like to me that the Bills have lost in the playoffs in the times they have is because of an injury in the defense. One, multiple, all of them, like last year's game against the Chiefs. Like that's why you're losing in the playoffs, is because you're not healthy in the playoffs. Get healthy and stay healthy throughout the last little bit of the regular season right here. Don't rush anybody. Be very cautious with every injury and just pray that they could stay healthy enough to make the play to get, into the playoffs, which they already are, of course. Just pray that they could stay healthy enough to sustain throughout the playoffs. I remember that word a lot actually. I heard it last year all year. Can this offense sustain? Can this team sustain? I'm not even talking about the Bills. You know who I'm talking about. And I hope the one that
Hmm.
told me that is watching the show right now, because she said it like 50 times at the beginning of the season in 23. This team can't sustain. This team won't sustain. Oh, she was right. This one did though. But stay healthy. It's literally
Hmm.
all you have to do right now. Stay healthy. But really, that's all that there is to this to that particular statement. Uh Paul, give me your standout player of the game.
My standout player of the game goes straight to Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
And 9 quarterback rushes this week. rushers. 9 quarterback pressures this week. 3 QB hits. It was by far the best game Ed Oliver has played this season, and it came in a moment where we really needed him the most. You had no starting safeties. You had one cornerback that was injured. So who do you have to rely on to help you win that football game against the Lions on Sunday? Big Ed Oliver. You pay this guy money. He hasn't really showed much this year, but he showed up in the biggest moment this weekend when they really needed him, and he showed out in a really big way. And I just hope it continues. We just talked about this defense peaking in certain areas at the right time. All we just need to do is that peak just needs to get bigger and bigger and bigger and higher, higher and higher. So when you get to the playoffs, you're ready to dominate. You're ready to put teams in an area where they have to go one dimensional. Say you're a run heavy team, you stop the run, you make them pass. If they're pass heavy, you can shut down their passing game and really make things difficult for teams in the playoffs. And that really just goes to your front four. I mean, all of the front four deserves props, standout player of the games, but you're going to wind it down to one. Ed Oliver showed out and he played really good.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Everybody was saying, all the mean things about Ed Oliver, and he showed out to prove everybody wrong. Now everybody's saying if they want to just keep saying mean things about Ed Oliver to keep going, because apparently that worked. But no, I've always known Ed Oliver was a dog. Like he's got that dog in him, and he always has. A couple of bad games are not going to change that because literally every team and every player has bad games. So I don't know why everybody would have to get on Ed Oliver, but I'm actually a little more surprised you didn't say somebody else on the defense as the standout player of the week. Where's the love for the guy that actually won us the game? Where is it?
I had
I didn't
that thought.
I didn't even hear
I
you
had the
say it.
thought, but I didn't say it. No, I went at Oliver, but I mean,
I mean,
Taron
let's be real.
Johnson.
8
I mean,
total 5 solo tackles, 1 pass deflection, er, and then 8 total. He definitely didn't light up the stat sheet, but
oh, he
the
didn't.
fact
No.
is, you watch what happened at the very end of the game with that onside kick, and you realize that Taron Johnson is the one that saved the game.
Also, the
Yeah,
quote of the week, by the way.
yep. Like there is no other standout player that it can't be anybody but Taron Johnson. Sure, Ed Oliver's got a good shot at it. I agree with your take. James Cook could be put in here as well. Then
There's
obviously
bias in the
Josh
censor.
Allen. Hmm, what?
There's some bias in the censor, isn't it?
Duh. But he won us the game. That's the whole
Yeah, he
deal.
did. Oh,
Straight
he
up
did.
won us the game.
You go back to a moment where back in the game, I think mid fourth quarter, maybe it's in the third quarter. I don't remember exactly where it was in the game, but that big second down hit on St. Brown, that kind of knocked the wind out of him just for a little bit, and then the next play they go back to St. Brown again, and he doesn't make the catch. I mean, that's probably the effects of a Johnson hit the previous play. You rattle the guy for a play and they go back to him and he's still just a little bit rattled because, he got his bell rung just a little bit by
Mhm.
Taron Johnson. And then you go to the onside kick, you know, he recovers it and the Bills win the football game. You think about it that way, if he doesn't recover it or if he doesn't get some help from Bernard, I mean, the two garbage time touchdowns the Lions had turn into just a little it turns into a stressful situation where you're like, okay, is the defense about to do the most Billsiest thing and lay off a little bit and give us all the heartbreak as possible as in a normal game of the year type situation? No, they recover the onside kick. All those little small panic attacks that people were having during that onside kick goes away. They take a couple knees and they're out to a victory, and they're getting ready for 3 divisional games in a row. Man, just sitting here thinking that the Bills are 11-3, with 3 games to go.
Mhm.
It's one of those things I don't wanna get too ahead of myself again. I've done it twice this year after 3-game winning streak, before the Ravens game, and we lose that game, and I did it again after the 49ers game. I got too ahead of myself, and then we lost that following game. So I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself because, there's your trend. But this is shaping out to possibly be one of the best seasons, the Bills have had currently under the McDermott Allen era if they can finish out the final 3 games. And hopefully it turns out to be a 1 seed for the Buffalo Bills, but they're going to need help from, the Ravens, not the Ravens, the Steelers, and I don't even know who they play this weekend. Who do the Chiefs play this weekend?
Chiefs,
Texans.
Texans.
The Texans, they need help from the Texans and the Steelers. Hopefully they can lose, whether if it's back-to-back games or it's 2 of the next 3, and all just the Bills have to do is just continue to take care of business, and it turns out, back to our standout players, Johnson and Oliver. The
Mhm.
defense has to stay consistent because we know what this Bills offense can do is because they have Josh Allen as their quarterback. Now, let's continue having great defenses. And one smaller note, I don't Josh Allen hasn't been sacked in the last, I think, 3 weeks. I'm not
Mhm.
sure about the 49ers game, but I know the
No,
last 2 weeks Josh
he
Allen
was never
hasn't been
he was never
sacked.
sacked. Nope. That's just a testament to the offensive line as much as it is
Mhm.
his own mobility. But
Oh yeah,
let's actually move on to the game picks. Let's make these pretty quick because we got a lot of them and we got some good ones on the docket.
we do.
So
Ben never gave me his game picks, so we'll
ask him
just roll
later.
these. We'll ask them later, or these will just turn out to be for fun. But game picks are always fun. Denver and LA. Uh, Thursday night football. Connor, who do you got?
Thursday night football. Another lousy game. I'm kidding. Uh, uh, really, it could go either way because this is one of those really weird division games. And I actually think the Chargers are the better team. But the only thing is, well, yeah, and they are playing in LA, but LA has a thing about opposing teams' fans taking over the stadiums. So I am still taking the Chargers to win the game. I think their offense is that much better. I still am wary on Bo Nix. I think if the Broncos manage to make the playoffs, he's going to have a very rough go of his first playoff game. But I'm taking the Chargers anyway.
The AFC playoff picture is kind of in place. If one of these 2 teams loses, it kind of turns into an interesting race between the loser of this game and the Colts. But the Colts playoffs chances currently right now, I believe, is at 22% after their loss on Sunday. So, if they would have won that game, the playoffs streak goes, the playoff chances go like to 80%, but they just took a complete downfall. I like Denver in this game. Denver has been playing really well, and they clinch a playoff berth with a win today, with a win on Thursday. All right, Houston has to go on the road to Kansas City to play the Chiefs on Saturday afternoon. It's a 1 o'clock
God
game on
bless.
NBC. Houston or KC in this game.
Well, you already know how it's going to go down. Kansas City is going to find a way to win somehow because Patrick Mahomes does whatever weird magic he's got up his sleeve to win the game. So I'm taking the Chiefs. I will not bet against Mahomes until something proves me wrong otherwise.
Yeah, same. We tried it last week. Didn't work, but they punted 8 times, so their offense is still an issue. I'm not gonna go against the Chiefs against Houston. They're at home. Maybe against the Steelers because they have to go on the road, but at home they get all that voodoo magic to their side and whatever they do as a pregame ritual in Kansas City. Ravens and Steelers is the 425 game on Fox on that Saturday. We all know Lamar struggles against the Steelers.
Hmm.
Do the Ravens pull out even though they're at home?
No, absolutely not. This is something that I don't really think other fans of other teams, like Bills fans or just anybody, is really going to understand like Steelers fans do about when Mike Tomlin gets in that moment when they're playing the Ravens and the AFC North is on the line. What that man turns into on the sideline. He turns into a freak. The Steelers are going to win that game. Now, it won't be easy. Baltimore will not give them an inch, but they are going to absolutely get worked over by Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin might not have to pull a Jacoby Jones and trip somebody on the field, but they're still going to win. And no, the Yinzer is not coming out for this one because I don't really feel like it. I'm too focused on the Patriots at this point. We got to beat the Patriots, but the Steelers are going to beat the Ravens, and hopefully a Steelers win, a win for the division will shut up the Lamar Jackson for MVP talk.
This game's interesting because if the Ravens win this game, they still stay within arm's length of the Steelers for the AFC North. If they lose this game, it could be a very interesting road to trying to win the AFC North, or now at this point would be trying to survive the final 2 games to get into the postseason for the Ravens. Lamar struggles even though just even though it's not on the road, it's still the Steelers. There's still that weird, weird feeling against, when Lamar faces the Steelers. I think the Steelers pull out this game, but it's going to be close. I think this game is going to be your classic AFC North, battle to the very end type of game. Vikings have already have clinched their division, but Seattle
No, they haven't.
possibly without Geno Smith for this game is still trying to fight for the NFC West or just sneak into the playoffs.
Paul, you said
Vikings
division.
are
No, they
sealed.
haven't.
Huh?
You said they clinched the division. No, they didn't.
Vikings in a clinch?
No, the Vikings can't clinch. They're not even ahead of the Lions.
Oh, they're
Lions, they're tied with they have the same record, but the Lions have tiebreaker.
never mind then.
Yeah, it ain't over.
I didn't. It must have been a clinched playoff berth. I just
It's a
got that
clinch.
confused.
I don't even think they
Yeah.
have a playoff berth clinched yet either. They oh wait, no, they do. They do. That's
They
right.
do. I seen the X earlier today on by their name, and I thought that for some reason meant clinched division, but that's my bad. But Vikings have clinched a playoff berth while the Seattle Seahawks are trying to do that. Vikings or Seahawks?
Well, for me, if Kenneth Walker plays, not only will I be very happy in terms of fantasy implications because Kenneth Walker is my main running back and has been all season, if he plays and they have a really, really good start, I think the Seahawks can absolutely win this game. I am, in that regard, going to take the Seattle Seahawks to win the game if Kenneth Walker plays.
I think Seattle has a chance in this game, but if Geno Smith doesn't go, I don't think they win this football game. Uh, this what makes it hard because I don't know who's going to play, so I'm just going to take the Vikings as a security blanket. All right, 49ers and the Miami Dolphins. This game wasn't flexed out of the 425 window, so they still get some sort of national attention as they try to crawl their way back into a playoff spot, but they're against the 49ers who are trying to do the exact same thing.
Well, that one is going to be a very interesting game. The heavily depleted 49ers against the Dolphins, who are still trying to fight their way into the playoffs. Genuinely, I am taking the Dolphins. I think the 49ers are just too beat up right now to be in contention for anything. And the Dolphins are still going to want to try to prove it. And if they get past the 49ers, their last two games are the Browns, and I'm pretty sure it's the Jets. So that's a pretty nice, soft way to end your season. If they can get through the 49ers, then they've got a shot at some really, really unthinkable playoff berths. We'll see what happens, though. The Dolphins did just choke to the Texans. I say choke. They should have won, and they choked. So I'm still going to take the Dolphins. Maybe it's a reverse jinx and they lose, but we'll see.
This is interesting to me because this game doesn't deserve a 425 slate. It should have been booted, but there's no really other interesting game that's on other than 49ers and Dolphins at this point. I don't like taking the Dolphins, but I think they win this game. I don't think the 49ers have really much of a chance anymore of making the playoffs. They
Hey, yo,
just
wait,
need
wait, wait. Paul, hold up. The Falcons are making a major change as Michael Penix Jr. is expected to take over at quarterback with Kirk Cousins going to the bench. This broke literally not even a couple of minutes ago.
That's interesting. I
Yes,
mean,
yes, it
Cousins
is.
hasn't played great the last few games, but he's still under contract, so you trust maybe try to wait it out, but the Falcons just say no. Let's continue on with our game picks.
That I
Indiana
just had to
has
say
to
it.
go Indiana has to go on the road to Notre Dame in an all Indiana showdown. The weather for this game is 21 degrees with a feel like of 19.
Gross. That is absolutely gross. But hmm. Wait, hold on. Repeat that one more time. All I heard was the temperature and immediately shuddered.
Indiana has to go on the road to Notre Dame on
Oh, that.
Friday
Oh,
night.
I really think Indiana could win this game, but that's going to be hard playing in those conditions for a
Mhm.
team like Indiana. So I'm going to take them anyway.
Oh,
Let's see what happens. I'm going to take them.
get crazy.
Absolutely.
I I'm going to go chalk on this one. I think Notre Dame wins this game. The only time we've seen Indiana play a true opponent was Ohio State on the road, and they got clobbered. I have a feeling that's what we might get this weekend. Notre Dame wins. Penn State has to host SMU on Saturday afternoon, but with the weather conditions looking quite the same. 27 degrees, a feel like of 16 for an SMU team going from warm to cold and have to play at Beaver Stadium.
Oh, oh boy. I want to see SMU win this game so bad. So bad. And you know what? Just because of that, I'm going to take them to win the game. I want to see them win this game. Weren't they like the last one to make the playoffs? Like the
Yeah,
12th of
one of the
12?
last ones.
I want to see them do it. I want to see them prove everybody wrong and win the game. And this is coming from someone who really does not watch college football much. So
Yeah.
I want to see it happen. I'm here for the chaos.
Here for the chaos. That's what we like in college football and college basketball when it comes to this type of season. Chaos. I think Penn State going to win this football game. It's, SMU had a really bad first half against Clemson, and they came back. I don't think they do that here against Penn State. I think they're going to try to keep it close early. The cold is going to get the SMU. Even though they're saying that they're practicing in the cold, but 32-degree Texas mornings are so different than 16 of a feel like of 16 degrees at State College. Penn State wins. Texas and Clemson. I said Clemson's possibly. I said Texas is possibly on upset alert this weekend.
They better
Do they get
not be.
upset?
No, do not let that happen. I don't want to hear it from the Clemson fans that only got in because the ACC was garbage because Florida State fell apart. I don't want to hear it. I'm taking Texas in all hopes and prayers that they don't lose the game. Just please don't lose. Don't let Clemson win this
All
game, Texas. I
rides on
am
the
begging
hands
you.
of which Quinn Ewers you get. You
Nah,
get
just
the
start Arch
inconsistent
Manning.
one.
Just start him
You
right
get
away.
you you start Arch Manning.
Start him right now. Well, that would be more of the chaos theme, but agreed. It's going to have to be a superstar game from Quinn Ewers. Why are you
Yeah,
giving me that look? I'm already
you're
telling you that
saying start Arch Manning in a playoff
I'm
game.
just here for the chaos, okay?
I mean, I know you're I know you're unserious, but I mean,
When it comes to college football, yes.
I mean,
Just because my own team's
okay.
absolutely sucks.
If Quinn Ewers plays really great, Texas wins this game
Mhm.
by a lot.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
Quinn Ewers plays the inconsistent Quinn Ewers that we've been getting since he came back from injury, this game is close, and Clemson has a chance of upsetting Texas at home. I don't think Texas is going to get upset, but it
Mhm.
is going to be a close game on Saturday afternoon. It
Mhm.
all wraps up with Tennessee going on the road to Ohio State with the weather of 16 degrees in Ohio State, in Columbus. Warm weather team go on the road to Columbus. Said Ohio
Well,
State's possibly an upset alert.
you did.
Do they get upset?
No. This isn't a Florida team. Florida teams the ones that get the reputation for being unable to play in the cold. Ohio State will win the game. I don't see an upset brewing here. Ohio State's a juggernaut, and they have been most of the year. I say most because they always find a way to lose to Michigan. It's the college football equivalent of how the Bills treat the Dolphins. No matter how good Ohio State is or how good bad Michigan might be, Michigan still finds a way to win just because.
Yeah.
But that's irrelevant to the main point. Ohio State will win this game.
Taking the upset here. This is the only upset I will take this weekend. I'm taking Tennessee over Ohio State.
Okay.
This isn't the issue of can James Franklin win a big game for Penn State this weekend. It's can Ryan Day win a big game for Ohio State when it matters.
Yes.
Can Even though James Franklin, loses to almost every big opponent that he gets, home or away, Ohio State is a college football powerhouse, and every time they face a big opponent, they get embarrassed. They have to win this game for Ryan Day to keep his job, but I don't think they get it done. Sorry, Ryan, in advance.
Oh man, why would you do that to the poor guy? He just got back to Vegas, and now you're gonna do this to him? God bless Paul.
I am
Um,
not a Ohio State hater. Just want to put that out there. I
yeah,
am not
because
an
people
Ohio
have
State hater.
accused you of it in the past of being the biggest Ohio State hater.
It's
So
not. They haven't won a big game, and the last real
doesn't
big
mean
moment I
doesn't mean
had
they
of
can't.
Will Howard. Will Howard had threw two interceptions against Michigan, but you go all the way back to Oregon, where I think he slid or something. I forget what it was. It was pretty embarrassing for him, at least, for not knowing that how much clock time was actually on, and they had no timeouts. And I think he slid, and they had to rush back to the line, and they couldn't get another playoff for a win at Oregon. But any final takes? Candy cane jerseys this weekend.
God, they look so
I
good.
mean, as we wrap up a pre-Christmas show, we will not be here next week because next show would land on a Tuesday, which is Christmas Eve next week. So we'll take a short holiday break, but any final takeaways before we end this long show because we just talked too much?
Hey, Paul, I do want to end this on a very interesting note for you.
Yeah.
Do you remember a guy by the name of Jake Gunzel?
Yes, Jake Gensel. Yes.
You remember how he was pretty good at Buffalo?
Yeah.
Do you remember how you traded him to the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Jake Gensel never played with the Sabres.
Did he? I thought he did.
No. He played with the Penguins.
Why did I think he played with the Sabres?
You probably saw black and gold and your first thought
One of
went,
no, one of you guys traded somebody to my Lightning. But either way, 7 straight
are you
goals.
talking about Brandon Hagel?
That might have been, yeah. Now Brandon Hagel is a star in Tampa Bay now.
Yeah, Hagel was once a Sabre. Was he a Sabre? Yeah, he was
Either
drafted by
way,
the Sabres. Yeah, he was
yeah,
drafted by the
either
Sabres,
way.
but he went. Yeah,
Either way, I thought of the wrong player, but either way, that name just for whatever reason I thought he was with the Sabres before he was with the Lightning because he's now had a goal in 7 straight games, and I'm just sitting there thinking, wow, the Sabres really do a great job at wasting talent. Before they blow it up and sell the team to move an NBA team to Buffalo, just make sure Ukko Pekka comes to Tampa Bay. We could use the extra goalie support. I mean, we've got a great one right now, but let's just add him just because we can. And I think that will be a good way to end the show because the Sabres are very bad vibes, but the Bills are the best vibes.
they are. With that, we won't see
Elite.
you next week. You might see you after that. I don't know how long of a holiday break we're taking. It's probably 1 to 2 weeks. We'll probably see you in the new year. If not, we'll still see you in the new year because we're not going live on New Year's Eve. Probably be on the Thursday after New Year's Day, which is the second. So we might see you then. But if not, we'll see you a week into the new year. But with that, go Bills.
Go Bills.